Welcome to another show. I am James Swanwick, and today we're speaking to a lovely mother who is 55 years old, lives in San Francisco, California. Her name is Rana DiOrio, and she is an entrepreneur, a children's media entrepreneur, in fact. And she has a daughter, and their relationship has been a little bit challenging in recent times. But Rana going alcohol-free has brought her closer together with her daughter. I'm not going to steal Rana's thunder, so I'll just let her share the story. But you're going to hear very shortly how Rana got clearer, more present, more mindful. Her skin feels phenomenal. And she's accessing joy and insights that she wasn't able to previously as a result of being alcohol-free. Super inspiring, so can't wait for you to listen to her. I also got the chance, and I had the pleasure to meet Rana in person just recently, actually. We recorded this interview back in December of 2021, and then I got to meet her in January in person in 2022 in Austin, Texas at the Alcohol Free Lifestyle Annual Retreat, where we had Project 90 clients. Project 90 is our program that helps high performers to get long-term power over their drinking habits. And I met Rana and other Project 90 clients at the Hyatt Regency Hotel for 2 wonderful days of connection and vulnerability and some speakers. And we did a silent disco where we put some headphones on and we danced and got in tune with our body, and we did breath work. And I really got an opportunity to connect with Rana and see her connect with other clients. And she has an infectious positive energy about her and a lovely aura, which I hope and I'm sure does come out in the interview that I'm about to play. Just before we get into that, just a reminder, if you consider yourself a high performer and you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s, and you would like to do a self-development program which gets in touch with your feelings and helps you to focus on areas of your life that maybe aren't serving you and you'd like to change that and do so by committing to at least 90 days alcohol-free, then you are welcome to consider joining us in our Project 90 experience. There are some details at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/Project 90. And if you would like to have an exploratory, no obligation phone call with our Project 90 top coach, Victoria English, then you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/schedule. The link is also in the show notes. Also, a lot of people have been buying and experiencing my Swan Vitality supplements, which is amazing. I have a company called Swan Vitality at swanvitality.com, and I produce fish oil and a green supplement. But most importantly, there are 2 liver products there, Loving Liver and the Liver Cleanse, I should say. So if you're someone who wants to clean out your liver, give it a bit of a break, show it some love after probably years of not showing it as much love as you possibly could have by drinking alcohol, then you can go to swanvitality.com, and I'll give you a secret little 15% off code. Just use the code WELLNESS at checkout. I'll get you 15% off. Just give that to our podcast listeners and some of our select clients. Don't tell too many people. Also, if you want some free stuff, check out the Alcohol Free Lifestyle YouTube channel. That's at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/YouTube. You're already listening to the podcast, so that's good. And I can also send you a free guide if you want to read through the same process that we take our Project 90 clients through. That's at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. And there is a link in the description. All right, advertising over. Now it's time to connect with Rana DiOrio, wonderful woman from San Francisco, California. Here we go. So what's been the biggest benefit that you felt from being alcohol-free, Rana?
I would say, being very present with my children and really showing up for them where they need me. By way of example, my oldest is going through college application process now, which is enormously stressful for, high school seniors, especially playing catch up after COVID. And, she needs feedback on her supplemental essays, and I'm there. I'm right with her step by step, and Rana, who was drinking, would be like, yeah, okay, honey, it wasn't, I didn't share her urgency, right? I'm right there with her. Or my 13-year-old son who wants to go to a hangout up in Marin County. I live in San Francisco. So that's over the bridge. And none of that happened I had a sip of wine. I would never do that. But now it's like, sure, honey, let's go to Marin, And so it's about him, those Friday nights, and I have those precious conversations, with just, I've got 3 children. So one-on-one conversations are really impactful and meaningful. And then my middle daughter is struggling. She struggles with depression and anxiety, James, and one of her maladaptive coping behaviors was smoking weed. And so, I dropped her off at rehab for the second time at the end of August. And I matriculated in Project 90 on September 1. It was just, for me, it was, look, she's doing something really hard and giving up something she thinks she needs. And I voluntarily, gave up something hard that was helping me cope through, my stresses. And it's had a tremendous impact on her. She didn't think I was going to do it. And now that I have, I think, my stock has gone up.
What did she say to you when you told her that you were going to do Project 90 as a means of solidarity, I guess, with her?
She really was blown away. First it was, Mom, you don't have to do that. I know how much you enjoy wine. But then I said, but Alex, I'm learning about addiction. I'm learning about the science of why we're drawn, in my case, alcohol, why you're drawn to your substance of choice. And, information is power. So I want to do this with you. And I think I know it had a tremendous impact on her.
Yeah, it sounds it. And what impact did it have on you?
That's a great question. So for me, I feel really vital and clear and present and mindful. I make a distinction between those two things. The other thing is that my skin feels incredible, and alcohol is so dehydrating, and no amount of water really makes up for all that dehydration. So now that I have it all out of my system, I'm, feel great. I look younger because my skin looks great. I don't know. A lot of great things.
And have you received feedback from loved ones or friends or acquaintances about this new upgraded version of Rana?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, some of the people in the program, James, have these amazing transformations. They're losing, 30 pounds. One of people in our cohort lost 30 pounds, which is amazing. Or, they're going from a 6 to a 10, as you like to say. I think for me, I probably went from a 7 to a 9, maybe. And, but it feels great. My creativity is back. What else is really remarkable? I'm able to access joy a lot more readily. Alcohol, of course, is a depressant. And I think we all take that for granted. We think, let's have drinks and have some fun, right? We associate it with fun. But the reality is it's a depressant. So once it's completely out of your system, for me anyway, I'm music makes me joyful, or listening to laughter brings me great joy. I don't know. It's I'm able to access joy a lot more readily, which is so fabulous.
Yeah, that should be the slogan for any business. I think this is a multi-million-dollar slogan: access joy more easily. That's so good, isn't it? What's the kind of joy that you've been able to access, or what brings you joy that maybe you weren't able to access previously?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I don't miss anything now. I consider myself a pretty perceptive and situationally aware person in general, but, with alcohol numbing me out a little bit, you miss things, and I don't miss anything now. So, scents and sounds and, tactile sensations and snippets of conversations. I'm just really hyper aware. And I don't know, you would think that would be too much stimulation, but it's not, because it's, I don't know, it's grounding. I take it all in and I process it, and what it yields usually is, a positive response, joy, connection, to the people that matter most to me, who matter most to me.
And who are those people that matter most to you?
Well, mostly my children. Um, and of course I've dear friends, and I don't know, they've noticed the difference. And the other thing too is I feel as though, my oldest is about to be 18, James. And so she's forming her relationship with alcohol, as a senior in high school. I don't know, there are parties, and, we've had many, many conversations about kind of the rules of engagement, and the fact that she has an unmyelinated brain that, she's potentially harming with substances. And I told her that, like, I wanted to model the kind of behavior that, I'd like her to adopt, so, and she gets it, she's pretty sophisticated.
I want to invite you to think back to when you were your daughter's age. Let's say between 16 and 18. Do you recall who your role models were regarding drinking? Or do you recall where your relationship with alcohol, and by that I mean the normalization of it, the smile that people have when they're inviting you to have a drink? Like, can you recall when you were your daughter's age, how you formed those lifelong habits of normalizing alcohol?
I can. So interestingly, when I was my daughter's age, I was a goody two shoes. And my younger brother was doing the drinking, and I was the one that was collecting keys to make sure nobody drove. And it was like the governor, and making sure everybody was safe. And my parents weren't big drinkers, James, but when I went to college, it was a whole different universe, right? And I joined a sorority, and, huge drinking culture. My sorority was like work hard, play hard. We did a lot of philanthropy, but we also won all the, beer drinking contests. And blackout drinking was kind of normal and funny, like not remembering what happened kind of thing. I remember my first experience with grain alcohol. I went to school in the Southeast, and grain alcohol was a thing. And, I was tiny, and, I blacked out, and I can remember not anybody being alarmed by that, myself included. That's what we did. You drink. And during this last 90 days, I've been very reflective about just that. Like, what role has alcohol played in my life, and, where it started and its trajectory? Because it is a relationship. It's a relationship that you have with alcohol, But yeah, for me, it was college.
And do you see how possibly your normalization of alcohol in your parenting years influenced your children and maybe helped them to normalize alcohol? Or do you think that there's so much outside influence that it was more of a societal influence than a mama influence?
Yeah. So it's an interesting question. And my children are in a special situation, because the father of my girls is an alcoholic. Like, he'll label himself an alcoholic, and he's in recovery. That's an AA term. That's what he uses. So I'm just going to adopt his nomenclature. And he's fallen out of sobriety twice during my girl's lifetime, in kind of a very substantial way, where lost his job, financial insecurity. So by comparison, I didn't have a problem, and it's interesting. When I had a conversation with my oldest, interestingly, she wrote about this for her Common App essay, James. So, when she's representing herself to the world, of college admissions directors, this is the story she tells about how, her dad had problems with sobriety, and now her sister does, and how that impacted her and her resilience and her ability to navigate the world. But when I had a conversation with her about it, she said to me, "Yeah, Mom, you just have a high tolerance." I was like, oh my God. Like that really, that was like a cold bucket of water dumped on me.
Mm. Mm.
My very sophisticated, compassionate 18-year-old thinks I have a high tolerance. So my drinking isn't a problem. So that was, I was already in the program at that point. So it was an enormous validation. So that's a complicated answer to a simple question, but I think my girls are different because of their family of origin situation. So they know a lot about alcohol and the deleterious impact it can have on a family. And historically, they didn't associate me with that, but I associated me with that, as I, thought about how I was using alcohol.
Yeah. Do you think that your children's father's drinking habits influenced your children's drinking habits significantly, partially, somewhat? Like if you were to try to, see where your children were the most influenced, would it be from mama? Would it be from dad? Would it be from society and friends, college? Like, where do you think, if you had to place it in order of influence, where do you think?
Yeah. So I think for my kids, their dad's relationship with alcohol was paramount. So my middle daughter, who's, we'll just say it, she's in a therapeutic boarding school right now. She's terrified of alcohol, literally terrified.
How old is she, Raina?
She's 16 and a half. And as I mentioned, marijuana is her substance of choice. And as we know, marijuana isn't chemically addictive, but it certainly is behaviorally addictive, as she's demonstrated. But, she doesn't drink, James, because of her dad's history. And my oldest daughter is really judicious about drinking. And I know she never drinks and drives. And, she's usually the case in point, Saturday night, they had the fall formal. My kid was home at 10:30. Sober as a judge. And her friend who was staying with us came home 3 hours later with a designated driver and had been drinking. But so she's making good choices because we talk about it a lot. So I think, in the hierarchy, I think, family and then her dad, certainly watching me. But I think they didn't think I had a problem. I honestly believe that because I've had separate conversations with both of them. So I'm imputing the problem on myself. And certainly society, glamorizes alcohol. We talk about that a lot in the program, the smiling assassins and, attractively packaged poison. It's ubiquitous and it's marketed to everyone, including young people, young adults.
Mm. How much responsibility do you personally feel towards helping your children navigate alcohol and the ramifications of drinking alcohol? They're at an age now where they're adults or about to be, I guess considered legally adults, so that they're free to make their own choices. How much responsibility have you taken upon yourself to ensure that they have a healthy relationship with alcohol?
Oh, a tremendous amount of responsibility. I think that, and now having gone through this program, James, and formed, lifetime friendships through it, I think I'm in a better position to help have those conversations, and, tell anecdotal stories and reveal my own stories. And, and the great news is, their dad is willing to have those conversations with them as well, which is just so cool, and his experience to it. Like he has no alcohol in his life because he can't do it in moderation. And I'm electing to do that as well. I don't know. I think we have a tremendous responsibility to our children. I'm forming the relationship with alcohol.
Do you feel like you have a more informed, better informed view of alcohol now, which having gone through the last 90 or so days inside of our Project 90 experience and forming those friendships that you were talking about, do you think you're in a better, stronger position now to be able to influence your children's behavior, not least your own?
Oh, absolutely. First there's the science of it. What's, as you know, our coaches have gone through a similar experience themselves. So they have firsthand knowledge of the journey, but, and the science behind why we drink, what needs that serves and what it actually does to our brains and our bodies. But then there's a whole other level of the insights that we make individually and collectively, and that are, catalyzed by one another, of, how, I'll just say it, sinister and toxic alcohol has been in our lives. And people share their darkest moments with alcohol. And, it's a real wake-up call. It's very illuminating. And I even revealed in a breakout in one of the last days with one of the people in my cohort that graduated on the same day I did, that one of the biggest revelations I had during the 90 days was the impact alcohol had on my relationships. I've been married 3 times, James, and it's something that weighs very heavily on me. But I've looked back at the role alcohol has played in the demise of those relationships, and there's a causal impact.
And is that from your own consumption of alcohol only, or is it from you and your ex-husband's consumption as well?
Yeah. So in 2 of the relationships, it was both of us. And in one of the relationships, it was just me, with the girl's father, who was abstaining at that time, and said it was totally fine that I would drink and that he didn't, but turned out he really resented it. Really, really resented that I could, drink and, at the time in moderation and be very successful in my career and raise our daughters, but that he had to abstain. But it was like a schism that just got bigger and bigger until it was a gulf that we couldn't, navigate.
Mm. Did he share how long he had felt that resentment? Was he aware of that resentment, or was it an unconscious feeling that he only became conscious about later?
I think the latter. I think the latter.
So interesting, isn't it? It's a lot of it is communication challenges between people, not just partners, but just human beings in general. And then only with the benefit of hindsight can we kind of, perform the post-mortem, so to speak, and really figure out what went wrong or what was causing resentment or what was causing discomfort. Were you able to look back during these 90 so days and kind of do post-mortem, so to speak, on some of those relationships?
Yeah. I did. And your point about communication is just spot on, James. When you're numb, you're not picking up on everything. You're not recognizing your partner's needs. You're not asking what your partner needs, right? You're just being numb, right? And detached and kind of in your own world. So, successful relationships are about, getting your needs met and being able to articulate what they are, and hopefully having a partner that is happy to help meet those needs, right? Or navigate what works. But when you're numb, you're not even in a position to have those kinds of conversations, and you misperceive one another quite a bit, right? Yeah. So yeah, that was, I'll tell you, it was the last, of course, the things that we feel the worst about are the hardest to shine a light on. Right. And for me, that was kind of the end of my my tour of duty, I kind of realized, wow, I'll be honest with you. I think my first marriage would have been totally fine if I knew then what I know now. I'm certain of it. If I knew then what I know now, we would still be married happily.
Mm.
So
That's a powerful realization, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Well, the beautiful thing is, at least the way I experience it, is that you have tremendous self-awareness, at least now. Maybe if you felt like you didn't have that self-awareness back then, you appear, certainly to me, to be having increasing amounts of self-awareness now. Does it feel that way for you?
Oh yeah. And I'm dating now, James. Like I'm seeking my sacred partner at age 55. And I took 3 years off from dating. And I started, last fall. But it's been really interesting going on first dates without alcohol. I mean, I challenge anyone who's listening to this to remember the last time they went on a first date without having a drink in their hands, the social lubricant or, helping with inhibitions to have those first conversations. But it's been remarkable. And how I message why I'm doing it. I'm kind of being really vulnerable. And I tell people that I'm meeting that, my daughter's, navigating her own challenges with substances right now. So I wanted to do this in solidarity with her. And like, so that's a whole, that's a lot to handle, like at the beginning of a story. Right. But if somebody can't have those discussions or be amenable to me being on that journey with my kid in this moment, then they're not for me. So it's been really interesting.
May I ask what has been the different responses from those that you've gone on a first date with when you've shared what you've shared? When they, first of all, when they become aware that you won't be drinking on this first date, and then secondly, when you share a little bit about what's been going on with your family.
Yeah. So I would say on the one side of the spectrum, there's when's the 90th day? And, let's go to wine country on the 91st day kind of response.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then on the other is like just very genuine, empathy, because when you tell stories about addiction to any substance, James, people have addiction in their nexus, right? They've got somebody that's 1 degree of separation that's had an experience, right? So when you open yourself up and you share that experience, a compassionate person or a kind person is going to share their experience. So it's on the other side of the spectrum. It's a connecting point. Like, wow, good on you. That's amazing. You're an amazing mother. That's phenomenal that you're doing that. That kind of reaction. So they get second dates.
Out of interest, what's the percentage of those who are the former, which is, when's day 91? When's this over? And what percentage is they're open and receptive and encouraging of you?
Yeah, I would say it's 50-50. And
Wow.
I'll share another thing, James. Like, I have a childhood friend that had that friendship is at least on ice right now, and in large part because of this program. Because she was one of these, I'll plan that party, when you're drinking again, was kind of the first reaction. And then we went out to dinner with the guy that she was seeing, and they both were drinking, and I was not drinking, and she totally misperceived an interaction, and went on offense, kind of, attacking me about it. And like, James, she couldn't have been more wrong. And I was, very clear about what I said and what my intentions were. But yeah, so that friendship is alienated right now because of alcohol. So
Maybe we should change the tagline from, Project 90, helping people create joy, to breaking up friendships.
no, it's not. You know what it is though? Like, I want to get back to the friendship point with Project 90. That, we've got Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, and baby boomers in the group when I was there, which is pretty extraordinary, age gaps. Yet the common experiences and the love, I'll just say it, the love that people are willing to share with one another and support is truly outstanding. I mean, it was surprising and a beautiful thing. So I've made some very close friends that I know will be lifetime friends in the group.
I'm so happy that was your experience. I want to return to something you shared there about the different responses you're getting from men on these dates and from your friends, from this particular friend. In my view, and I don't want this to be too critical of people, but it seems to me that reaction of, oh, when's your day 90? Oh, finally, then we can go and have some fun. Then we can go to the wine country. Oh, I'll plan a big party for you when you hit to 90 days. In my view, that's very lazy and outdated thinking. That's just how I experience that. And as I keep sharing with people who always are entertaining the idea of joining us in Project 90, this is not about getting to 90 days alcohol free and then celebrating with a drink.
Right.
It completely defeats the purpose.
Right.
The idea is to get long-term power over your drinking habits. It's to change your relationship to or with alcohol. And so the very notion that you would do let's call it a little challenge. A lot of people, mistakenly think that the Project 90 program is a fun little challenge. And that at the end of that challenge, they'll get to all right, now let's open up the champagne and the wine and return to the very habits that had you not particularly happy, not feeling joy, feeling numb, that brought you here in the first place. So I guess I'm just saying that because I want to, I guess the word is sympathize or empathize with you that you are receiving that kind of response. And at the same time, I think now that you are this version of you and your way of being is now creating joy and experiencing joy, I think you're going to find that you're going to start attracting a heck of a lot more people who are going to be so encouraging of you and your beliefs and your actions, and also people of a similar mindset and a similar way of being. I can just speak from my own experience. When I quit alcohol way back in 2010, I didn't intentionally cut certain friends. I just naturally gravitated towards a different set of friends. I just naturally started to attract what I perceived and what I felt to be a higher caliber or a higher energetic type of friend, or even if you remove the word higher, just a similar type of energy. Because I'm not saying that being alcohol free makes you a better person or drinking makes you, not as good a person. I'm not saying that. But when I quit alcohol, I just naturally attracted people who are on a similar energetic frequency to me. And so I think if your statistics now on these first dates are 50-50, which is men saying, oh, let's wait till you get to 90 and then we'll drink, I think you're going to find that it'll increasingly be moving towards like 75% of men are going to be very encouraging and enthusiastic about this incredible, confident woman who is owning the fact that she's loving being alcohol free and that she doesn't require this attractively packaged poison in order to enjoy a date or in order to go traveling to Napa, to wine country, etc. So I don't know. That was my little rant.
No, and I agree with you, and I believe, that where you put your attention becomes your intention, and the law of attraction. I believe it. So I'm exuding that now, and we'll check in a few months and see if your theory is correct.
Yeah. I want to know what the statistics are. I want to see what the percentage split is.
The other thing that's worth mentioning, James, in light of the fact that you said that, when you started your journey, you didn't know if it was where it was going to take you. I mean, I honestly thought I was one of those people that took this on as a challenge. I had gotten to the point where I was drinking every day, during COVID, as, many of the people in my circle did. Happy hour started at 5 kind of thing. And I thought, I want to see if I can do this for 90 days. And I would say that, I'm an eatophile. I grew up with wine and I love wine. Anyway, as time passed and I kept feeling better and better, and I looked better and better. It didn't have any appeal to me at all. Like, I thought it was going to be a lot harder than it actually was, because it builds on itself, right? And where I am now is, I have no desire to drink right now, which surprises me. It's the holidays, every single function I'm going to, the alcohol is flowing freely, and not just any alcohol. I mean, we're in San Francisco, for God's sakes. It's the best, wine, the best wines in the world are here for us. And, but it just doesn't have any appeal. It doesn't have any power over me. I'm surprised, honestly. And that's been a very welcome outcome of participating in the program.
And it seems like it's opened the door for you to access the joy.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, Rana, I want to just acknowledge you and thank you for opening up and being vulnerable and sharing what some may consider to be, very personal things about your family life and about your, I guess, romantic life in terms of ex-husbands and dating as well. I think it shows a tremendous amount of courage for you to share so openly about that. And I'm sure that our listener really appreciates it as well. So assuming that our listener is of the same mindset as me, on behalf of him and her, I want to say thank you so much for being so open during our conversation.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. As Brene Brown would say, I believe that our vulnerability is our strength. I believe that.
Yes. Well said. Well, Rana, thank you so much again. Congratulations again. And I look forward to watching your continued journey as you venture down this alcohol-free lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, thank you, James, for ideating this program and for attracting such phenomenal coaches and people to create an ethos that enabled this to happen. So I'm deeply grateful to you. So thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I want to load you up with some free stuff. If you look in the show description, there's a link there to get my guide, which is the Alcohol Freedom Formula Guide. And in that guide, I will walk you through the process and system for successfully reducing or quitting alcohol. It's the same system and process that I give to my clients inside of Project 90. And if you would like to get your hands on that guide, you can click the link in the description part of this episode, or you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. Likewise, if you would like to be considered for Project 90 to join our community and get some accountability, some coaching, and have fun, achieve some goals over at least 90 days with our help and support, then you're invited to schedule a complimentary coaching call with one of my coaches. You can do that by clicking the link in the show description or going to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/schedule. Now, Project 90 is for over 30s only, and it's really for people who are ready to get long-term power over alcohol. You don't have to quit forever, but you will have to quit for at least 90 days with our support. Just a reminder, 95% of my content is free and plastered all over the internet. If you just Google James Swanwick and the word alcohol, you'll find that. For those of you who want additional support, if you want coaching, fun, accountability, if you realize that you can't do this on your own or you just plain don't want to, then I invite you to schedule that call and we can talk about if Project 90 is for you. If you would like to take some of my supplements, swanvitality.com is the website. I'll put a link in the show notes as well. I have a liver support product called Loving Liver, which I designed and specially formulated to help remove toxins from your liver after years of alcohol consumption. Again, there's a link in the show description. We've also got a green powder there, which turns into a green juice filled with amazing ingredients to support you and give you energy throughout the day. And there's also a magnesium product which I take every night to help me prepare for sleep and to sleep through the night. So there's a few options there. Lastly, if this episode or the show in general has helped you or supported you in any way, I would so appreciate it if you would write a review. It really does help the show climb the rankings and expose the show to people who don't yet know about us. So if this show has benefited you in any way and you feel compelled to pay it forward, just writing a short little review, hopefully a nice one, will be so appreciated, and I will thank you immensely. Lastly, if you'd like to talk to me about anything at all, feel free to send me an email at james@alcoholfreelifestyle.com. I do read and respond to every email. And you can also follow me on Instagram at @JamesSwanwick. Send me a message there. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. Catch you on the next one.